Good morning out there in the ether. I hope you can all hear me and see me, as well as Tytti and Hannu. We're all online right now. Hello, and welcome to the Women in Tech Finland breakfast event. Frantic is proud to be a Women in Tech partner and hosting this morning's online event. My name is Liisa Benmergui, and I'm currently the service design lead at Frantic, and I'm going to be your host for this morning. I'm very excited to be here. It's extremely gray out in Helsinki. I don't know what parts of Finland you all are joining us from, but it's doesn't look very nice here. I don't know, Hannu, Tytti, I think it's pretty much the same where you are. Yep. Okay. Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so let's start. Get comfy wherever you may be, and grab that first or maybe second cup of coffee to keep you awake. And join me as we first start with a few introductions, some housekeeping, and then we dive into this morning's breakfast topic. Let's see. I'm gonna just check that we can. I'm just double checking that we have everybody. Yeah. Okay. I'm just double checking that we have everybody online. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you briefly about Women in Tech. Women in Tech's mission is to encourage more women to work in the field of technology and to promote the value of diversity, inclusion, and equity in tech. And unfortunately, this morning we couldn't have a rep from Women in Tech, but I wanted to share what they were going to share. And if you have any questions about that, at the end, we'll let you guys know a little bit more. Their activities include events promoting role models of women working in the field of technology. As I mentioned, today's event's partner is Frantic. We're a digital consultancy and develop digital business and customer experience through human-centered design and modern application development. It's a mouthful, but we're here for you. That's how these things go when we're introducing. But if you're interested at the end, we'll give you a little bit more information about Frantic and Women in Tech. Our agenda for this morning is rather short and sweet. After these opening words, we will dive right into introducing the panel and get into that discussion with a brief Q&A session for any additional questions that might pop up throughout the session. So feel free to drop those into the Q&A panel. And we'll be wrapping up the breakfast event at 9:30, so you all can have time to continue your days or start your days off. Pia Jalonen is a Frantic's talented content lead, and she will be our moderator today for the chat. And so feel free to share comments in the chat and questions in the Q&A for the panelists. But do note, by default, the chat sends messages to panelists only. You'll have to just select the right menu choice. And it should say something to the effect of all attendees and panelists in the drop down within the chat section. So if you want to share with the whole group, I encourage you to change that setting. And if you do want to just share with the panelists, that's also okay. We may react, and we'll try to note when we've been sent a message directly. But a last few housekeeping notes before we get to Tytti and Hannu and their intros. Heads up that we are indeed recording the session. We'll share the recording with you via email along with a feedback form afterwards. And then one last thing, at the bottom of the slides here that we'll be sharing is the Women in Tech FI hashtag and our Twitter handle, frantic.com. That's with 2 C's right next to each other, if you didn't notice. So if you're an avid Twitter user, tag us in your tweets and we'll be retweeting them. We have some active Frantimons online right now listening in, so they'll be able to catch your tweets. Okay, so now that we've gotten through the housekeeping, let's move on to our panel and some food for thought for you on this fine morning. Our topic today is, of course, all about leading agile teams from a design, tech, and Scrum perspective. We've gathered lots of questions actually came in prior to this event, but time permitting, we also have an actual Q&A, like where we're going to take some wildcard questions from the audience. So, like I said, add those into the Q&A, and if you're having trouble with the Q&A, just send them through the chat, and Pia will be able to add them to the Q&A if nothing else. So I'm just checking now that we can see. I'm just going to check the chat is on. And yes, Pia is there. Great. Awesome. Okay, now let me introduce Tytti Pöysti, not only a Scrum Master and great team leader at Frantic with a passion for team dynamics and psychology. She's also one of the main organizers of this event today from Frantic. So Tytti, could you say a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm also the one person suffering from a great stage fright, but I am really super excited to be here today, conquering my fears.
That's awesome. As I've already told you earlier, I can't even notice. So it's amazing that you're able to keep your cool so well. And next, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good. That nice that it doesn't show that much.
No, you're natural. You're natural. Okay, so next is Hannu Räisänen, wearing many hats, not only as a senior developer and solution architect at Frantic, as well as a Scrum Master and tech lead. So Hannu, take it away. Would you like to say something?
Good morning, everybody. So I'm a software developer with over 20 years of experience, and I want to thank you for organizing the event, Tytti and Liisa, and also for asking me to talk with you. I'm attending from my home office, so I have to apologize a bit for these lighting conditions.
No, you look great. We're actually, yeah, it's actually, for all transparency's sake, both Tytti and I are at the office in separate rooms and keeping rather social distance. So Hannu is at home, and I think that it's working rather well. We've done this before, so thanks, Hannu, for joining us, and even if it is exactly like that, from the comfort of your own home. Let's see. Now, myself, I'm Liisa Benmergui, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm the service design lead at Frantic. And basically, over the past 15 years, I found myself helping bridge the gap between strategy, design, and development within organizations. And I really hope and try to create added value for customers and end users in the process. Okay, but now we've had the introductions. I would love to test out the polling. There's a lovely polling feature in our Zoom. And for those of you who are not, let me see, I'm going to launch that poll. But now that you know a little bit about us, and just before we dive into the panel discussion, tell us a bit about yourselves, like what titles best describe you as a professional. And I will share the poll in a moment. So let's have a few of you. Okay, I see everybody's found the poll. That's great. I see things happening over there. Lovely. Okay, I'll give you guys a moment. Yeah, and it really interests us to know kind of like who we're speaking to in terms of background and what you feel is, let's say, your strength or what you identify with. Okay, we have, I love looking at the numbers going up, 85, 85, 86, 87. Okay, so we have, now I think we've plateaued. I'm going to give you guys still a couple of seconds for anybody who's still out there who wants to add something to the poll. I'm gonna have to end the poll to share it. That's the interesting thing, we can't share it before. Okay, I'm giving you, okay, I'm gonna end the poll now. We have 89 votes. So that's a nice 80%. And I'll share the results right now. And as you can see, we have, let's say, quite a few people actually identifying as other. So if you're interested in sharing what what the other stands for, you're more than welcome. But we have a lot of managers and team leads, Scrum Masters. Great to have you in the audience. And subject matter experts, as well as designers and design leads. Great. Okay, so now that we've gotten a little bit to know each other, let's see, I will start the discussion about what we'll be talking about today. So our discussion topics, we decided to group the questions into 4 different themes that we got prior to, and of course during the Q&A afterwards we will discuss a bit further, but we'll have roles and responsibilities, leadership styles, motivation and challenging times, as well as cross-team collaboration. Now, this first section, roles and responsibilities, our first question is very much a primer about that we received from participants. We have about a couple of questions on this area. So what are the main responsibilities of a tech, design, and team lead? And I wonder what that feels like when we let's say if we were to talk about one or main topic of what do you feel like one of the main responsibilities are, Tytti. What do you feel that happens when you get that title of a team lead or Scrum Master?
If I would choose only the topmost important thing to do, or what leader does, is that I think that they are the keys to what kind of culture or norms the team have, and also that whether the team norms are understood by everyone in a similar fashion as well. To me, leaders help to create these norms and also help to bring them forth, so that everybody are on the same page. They remind, train, and perhaps even communicate about the norms, for example, to stakeholders. And perhaps by team norms, I here mean that the day-to-day interactions and behavior towards each other and how we as a team cooperate.
Nice.
Okay, thanks Tytti for mentioning those things. So it's pretty easy for me to say that whatever team lead is for the whole team, tech lead is the same for the technical team, meaning mostly the developers. If I want to add one thing on top of that, one very specific tech lead task is that tech lead controls the technical debt, meaning that product owner and the Scrum team or whatever team should be aware of the amount of technical debt gathered, and also tech lead makes sure that all the relevant stakeholders understand when some solution on table includes taking more technical debt. Then maybe I should mention that especially in self-organizing teams, pretty much all of the tech lead duties can be implicitly or even explicitly shared with senior developers of the team.
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you said that, Hannu, that you agreed with Tytti. I feel like very similar when you talk about from a design lead perspective. I myself also feel, the norms, how the group works together is really important. I think from the design lead perspective, when a design lead has been named or shared the responsibility with a few designers, usually you champion the voice of the designers and the design-minded team members, like throughout the project and on ongoing teamwork. So bringing understanding of like design ops, the ideology that the team I work with is really important. So and liaising with the product owner and so on is as stakeholders, end users and so on. It's really like all parts of one big system. So when I work as a design lead, I tend to work really closely with the tech lead, the Scrum Master, and so on. So I think that it's the design lead doesn't decide the design. They're not an art director. They're usually the one who's really thinking about the team as a whole and how it can work and how we can, as designers, really work in agile environments. Okay, well, now we have a second question, very follow-up to the first one, and basically, I would say that it's when you have the role of leader. What are the key characteristics of an agile leader then? And we were trying to think about this all together. What does it really mean? What is the difference? And maybe Hannu, you can start us off.
Yeah, okay. So at least agile leaders have to be very flexible, as not all the rules and methods apply to all the teams. So agile leaders should know the values of agile development. So all the new and often unanticipated situations can be faced with agile values and practices in mind. And as in agile environments, only the change is constant. Agile leaders should always be ready to help the team and the stakeholders to prioritize by helping them to answer a few questions like, where do we aim next, or what are we ready to give away, or even my personal favorite. So if the project ends next week, what are we going to do this week?
Oh my God. Yes, that is the best. That last one, I think that's like really like, if the world ends today, what are we going to be proud of? What will we tell the world about this project? And I think that that's, for myself, I think it kind of is the same feeling about goals and really understanding what you're working towards. For myself, it's like goals are fuzzy. Chances are the team will look to the lead for guidance and like really strong decision making. And as an agile leader, I think that you have to facilitate the discussion with the team about exactly what the goals are. And I'm very much, I agree with like what you said about really, what are we ready to give away? What's the most important thing from, let's say, the end user's perspective? What's the compromise we're willing to make that we still give value? And really looking at the relationships between the people is really one of the most important things when you're in that team and somebody has an opinion, a very strong opinion. I see you Tytti like nodding. It's like, it's so hard. And then you're the leader, but you don't want to be a dictator. And an agile leader really gives a lot of space. I think really, I believe in that kind of thing in the agile ideology. It's really like giving voices, and it's a team effort, but not a compromise all the time. And people have to have ownership. So yeah, I think that this focusing on what you can affect is the thing that a leader can often offer to their team. So not worrying too much about everything that you can't affect and really focusing. So yeah, I think that that's like one of the bigger things for myself as an agile leader.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Liisa. And on a general note, I feel that the leaders need to have like people skills, and they need to know what's the atmosphere in the team is, and especially that the leader is able to listen and also is empathetic. And I also relate to what Hannu mentioned earlier about the flexibility. So agile leader definitely needs some very chameleon-like super skills that help in adapting and also reflecting the team on themselves. And if you add that with the sixth sense of problem identification, then I think that you're really good to go as a agile leader. And perhaps another characteristic, but you will benefit from having a very good facilitation or communication or problem solving techniques.
Actually, yeah, that's really important when you talk about the communication, and it's not given. Not everybody has, and there are so many communication styles, really. And actually, speaking of styles, we're going to move on to leadership styles, actually. So we grouped, we got some questions, and we decided to put this one in. And really, now that we've gone from roles and responsibilities, like what we feel we really need to work on, what are the characteristics of an agile leader, then we can move on to the leadership styles. And in this one, actually, we have a poll introducing this topic. So while we're answering this question, like, I'd love to hear what type of leadership style you identify with. I'm going to put the poll on. Give me 1 second, because as the host, I get to click everything on and off. I'm going to launch this poll, and let's just make sure that, yeah, and it should be on. So basically, if there's no right or wrong answer, it's completely anonymous. So just tell us what you feel describes you best. But how do you feel? What type of leader are you within a team, and what leadership style do you feel most comfortable with?
There's at least 8 different stances of Scrum Master, but I've also heard perhaps a dozen more leadership styles, such as Devil's Advocate, or perhaps, excuse my French, but laissez-faire. Did I get it right? basically anyone can in the team change between these different leadership styles, and even myself. But personally, I, however, feel most comfortable in the servant leader, coach, or facilitation corner. And that's probably because striving towards open and honest communication and transparency and creating the common understanding is very important for me.
Okay, I think that now I'm letting the poll go on. I'm just giving you guys some like feedback now. I'm waiting for that lovely 80%. We have 72% voted. I think we can, I'm going to end the poll now, and I'll just show you guys what the others think. Let's see what kind of 73%. Let's end the poll, and I'll share the results right here in between. So Tytti mentioned the 8 stances, and it seems like, I'm looking here, lots of facilitators or people who identify the facilitators with facilitator role as servant leaders. There's coming up second, and then change agents. Nice. Impediment removers. All of these are valid. So none of these one is better than the other. It's just interesting to see what people tend to identify with. So let me close off that poll. And hey, Hannu, what leadership style do you feel most comfortable with then?
I usually see myself as a servant and a coach, but maybe not that much as a facilitator. I try my best on leading from the front, so being a tech lead without being involved in hands-on development work would not really wouldn't be my happy place.
I think that for myself, I kind of I would say that I'm like more of the servant leader, coach, facilitator. Those are all very much like, I feel very comfortable being in those kind of roles, but I really do identify with change agent. Oh, never get that right. So many G's and C's. Yeah, I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes that can be a bit daunting or difficult for some team members who are not used to it. And so I moved to the servant leader. But then I think that the change agent, as a design lead, many times it's very natural, and you have to, I usually want to like engage into an environment where there's like full of curiosity, sincere openness. And that doesn't mean that the other roles don't have that, but I feel that I would like to create change no matter what, that the thing or the service or the product that I'm working on with the team will have an effect of both top down and bottom up. But that, of course, requires also commitment from the organization that I'm working with, that they're really looking into the agile ways of working. And it's not always easy. It takes time. But like for this for a change agent to truly thrive and not feel like a pushy, dictator, then you really have to also have buy-in from the rest of the team. And that's when the servant leader comes into play, I feel. Hey, I just wanted to note that that if you're joining through the browser, sorry, this was just an aside. I noticed I have to have many hats and constantly facilitate this session, but the polls actually apparently don't show, unfortunately, in the web browser. But if you're on the if you're joining through the application or on the mobile phone, they should be working. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know so that you're not wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Zoom just hasn't made that feature happen. So yes, that's like pretty much half of my job is explaining away problems of software. But
Actually,
yeah.
Jenny tells that she's joining through browser and polls do pop up.
Ah, okay.
So may or may not work.
Yeah. May or may not work. Yeah, maybe it's something, maybe it's browser specific, but this is something good for us to learn. So thank you so much for giving that feedback right away. And we'll make sure to make a note of it for the next, for any of the next events we are hosting. Thank you. So let's move on to the third theme, motivation and challenging times. Not an easy topic. And we've generally talked about working with a team, leadership styles, but this is a question here that we got, and it's a bit of an amalgam. We had quite a few questions, so we wanted to kind of tackle many of them. There are many angles to this question, but the main beef of the question is, how do you keep a team's motivation up? And one of our attendees added specifically in these exceptional times, as well as another attendee asked that when there's large-scale transformation towards agile ways of working within a company, where it seems sometimes difficult for all to get on board with the pace of the project work. So I would ask maybe Hannu, you want to take a stab and start us off? Because how would you reply to this question as a tech lead or Scrum Master? Yeah, take it away.
Well, thinking from tech lead perspective, quite often developers, they are builders by nature, so they want to go forward and they want to see their results in action. And the more users, the better. And because of that, making sure the team understands the business value of the outcome is pretty important in building the motivation and also keeping it up. And I feel that product owner has a big role in this, but if needed, anyone in the team can try to keep this on minds and on lips of the team. And if the business decides where to aim, the team should be allowed to make decisions about how they want to work when trying to achieve those business goals given by somebody else. And this includes, for example, the technologies or specific methods the team chooses. And then about these exceptional times, I'm not absolutely sure where these exceptional times refer, but if it's about this COVID-19 situation and high amounts of remote working, then I personally feel that those have a bigger impact on ability than motivation. So ways to motivate have stayed the same, but everyone has to learn new ways of working.
I really like that analogy, Hannu. I think it's very nail on the head. Another nice analogy about these times is that we are not actually social distancing, we are physical distancing. So keep in mind that you can still keep the connections to your colleagues during these times. And probably why I like that analogy as so much is that I am a strong believer of psychological safety. And that is what I usually strive towards in all of the teams I am in. And the person, Amy Edmondson, who basically created this concept of psychological safety, she has wrote a book as well called The Fearless Organization. And I highly recommend you to read that. And basically in her studies, she noticed that the teams that were having this psychological safe environment, they usually performed better. They were more resilient and also more innovative, and also they had a better motivation. And I think that what really helps in building the psychological safety is the open and honest communication that you can have with your teams or with your colleagues or everybody around you. And perhaps what would be a better place to start this open and honest communication is the retrospective. So definitely during this time, I highlight how important the retrospectives are. So don't skip them, even though they might be easy to skip.
Yeah, exactly. And about psychological safety and retrospectives, try to keep, or I do try to keep so, and I believe you should do also, so that the overall mentality in retrospective should be like we don't make mistakes, we learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That whole thing about it's not like I don't think that I don't believe in fail fast, but I also don't believe that it's failure. It's just like we're learning the whole time. So every time you do something, it's a choice you make, then you can make a new choice. So I think that thing about the no mistakes and learnings are really the mindset that you should have, and it really is a very agile mindset. And for myself, anyways, I think when I looked at this question and I was thinking about it, I really think that these times may feel exceptional, but if you look at things as just new and not categorize them as exceptional or difficult or challenging, just everything is new. And newness is really difficult to confront, because then you're thinking it's change, and then you go into the negative side of things. So you want to give, as at least as myself as a leader and with the designers that I usually work with, as well as the developers, I usually want to give them sense-making tools. So kind of with the team, like create an atmosphere that's calm, understanding, rather than, let's say, fearful and doubtful and regretful. And addressing those feelings of doubt is really not always comfortable. It's not easy. It's no matter how extroverted you feel you are, it's really hard to like sit down and have a team talk positively about negative feelings. It almost feels kind of like impossible, but you can do it, I think. Anyways, I think that you have to embrace getting out of your comfort zone as a leader and work through these situations together. So maybe some type of workshop, some type of discussion, and opening up and maybe creating and adhering to boundaries. So sometimes I think that people can, what you brought up about the retrospectives, it's so easy to skip things when times feel tough. And you just feel like, oh, you know what, maybe discussing it is just going to bring up the bad feelings. But sometimes airing out grievances, like maybe having a venting session, but then turning it should turn to laughter. It should be like, if you can laugh at the situation, you control the situation. You can poke fun of it and then turn around and say, and not in the way, I'm a very dark humored person, but I don't think that you should also belittle your team saying, well, elämä on, like, that's life. You know, you always hear these things. And you're like, what? Life is good. Life is pretty good. Where we all have jobs. If you're in a Scrum team, that means you have a job. And right now in exceptional times, you should be focusing on like, wow, we're building something. And I think that that's like something that's really important. I think that when you brought that up as well, Hannu, about the ability and the motivation, I think it's really hard when I have 2 small children. They were on top of me all like spring, summer, as well as in the fall when my kid got quarantined all of a sudden. I was like, what? He's here for 2 weeks? How am I going to get any work done? That wasn't, my motivation wasn't low. My ability was low. Exactly. And I just feel like, yeah, I see you like nodding. It's just, it's so hard. And having the empathy, having the understanding that you don't know what the person's context is because you're not sitting with them. If you're used to sitting with them. Yeah. If you're used to being distributed, maybe you don't have those same kind of challenges in this time. But that's like something that I would give to those people, as well as also maybe the thing of that we were talking about with these digital transformations and them being fast-paced is maybe slowing things down for your team. Take a breath, you know?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier the feelings of fear and doubt, and they are definitely threat signals to brains, and they make people either to fight or flee. Yeah. And you can really, and that basically diminishes the psychological safety in your team and in the people's minds. And as you described, the structure you can provide as a leader, or safety net you can provide as a leader, or even uplifting the atmosphere, as you mentioned, you can really ease those threat signals from people's brains.
Yeah, it feels sometimes counterintuitive because you think like, okay, let's not go there, let's get them, but opening things up, having a good laugh, maybe saying out loud that things are not easy right now, even that is okay. Admitting that you're not okay is also a good, is a good place. I see some comments in the chat just now that you know, skipping the retrospective shouldn't, like, you should never skip it, and you're in trouble if you're not able to talk about things openly among the team. And that's so true. I really believe that. I think that it's also sometimes okay to kind of not jump in, take that moment also as a leader, saying, okay, collect your thoughts. What's the goal? What's the point of the meeting? What's the point of the discussion? And maybe frame the discussion also like saying, okay, we are having difficulties. Are we looking for a solution? Or are we just having like, how does everybody feel? and everybody's feelings are valid. Whether you agree with them or not, they're valid, they're real. And it's just so, simple, in that way. But actually, yeah, exactly. I see some people here not talking about feelings will not make them go away. Yes, compartmentalizing only goes so far. We've all been there in our lives. Yeah. So hey, I think we can then go to the and I'm just going to remind people that we have the next theme. But if you have any questions, please do add them into the Q&A. If you're not sure how to formulate it, just throw it in there and we can talk it through. If it's just like a topic or an idea that you'd like to share, it's okay if it's not in the perfect form of a question. But yeah, I just wanted to go ahead with the cross-team collaboration was the fourth theme that we had discussed, that we got some questions about prior to this event. So basically here, let's move on to some tips for cross-organizational collaboration. And how do you work with other teams? So if you're working between teams and creating a sense of purpose and understanding. And one of the attendees added that all insights in leading multi-team agile projects are welcome. So what are your experiences when it comes to leading many teams within one project? And how does the Scrum Master handle this in the best way, let's say? So this is from a Scrum perspective, but I think also as any type of leader, like how do you feel that you would be looking at this question?
I can start with this one. So,
go ahead.
I think that creating transparency and communication is definitely the top most important things, and especially if the teams are in different locations. And I would say that try to really work towards having a common set of norms, the values and goals. Also have a very clear definition of ready, definition of done, and also that they are truly understood in a similar fashion. And one really great exercise that you can have to creating this kind of common understanding is that you can ask your team to draw an elephant on their own, and then ask them to reveal that elephant. And you will actually notice at that point, once they reveal it, that there are so many versions of that elephant as there are people in the room. So you can pave the way for the discussion that how do you actually interpret this goal, since you can see that there might be as many versions of it as there are people in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I try to make sure that my own team will adopt as many practices and methods from the other teams as possible and of course feasible, because consistency between teams usually helps in the long run. It enables easier changes in team structures and, for example, moving people between teams, and well when needed, not because of just sake of moving.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the most important aspect is that nobody should have to reinvent the wheel. But if there's no other collaboration with the other teams, I want to at least be aware of what they are doing. So I go and listen to other teams' meetings as often as possible. And yeah, related to that, in the original, the Scrum Guide, there was a reference to the chicken and pig fable or story, and it was a metaphor for accountability. And this metaphor has been removed in the later editions, and accountability is nowadays discussed directly, but that does not change my point on this view. So please exercise your right to be a chicken. There's a value in doing so.
Oh, I love this. Now you've just put that kind of like teaser out there. Now everybody who is not aware of this fable is going to be Googling it. So yeah, let's all be chickens. And
you'll easily find it. Just Google chicken, pig, Scrum, and you'll get the idea.
Right, nice, thank you so much. I love that. I think that for myself, there's when you're talking about several developer teams, and maybe a dedicated design team or even two, then making sure that the lines are open between the teams, and that there may not be even one Scrum Master, so or team lead, but several, and that's like where the support should start, is like really getting the transparency between the teams and not making the teams feel that they are competing between each other, like, or with each other. And I think that that's one thing that I've noticed also, maybe as a change agent, in the change agent role, is really looking at like, how are people working, but then also reminding them again about the goals. It's like, why are we doing this? Is it to satisfy, what is it to satisfy? Is it to satisfy a specific goal, a larger goal? Should the goal be broken down? And when you have many teams, is really not adding lots of more meetings, but even maybe figuring out who's working on what. And this kind of status can be done if you're sharing a Slack channel or some sort of a messenger, some type of Skype messenger and so on. Then just having project statuses like added in daily, weekly, and that you know what the others are doing. So if the lead has the ear of another lead, then they just add their own kind of like, okay, these are the things we're working on this week, or their Jira boards, are open to everybody, let's say, just for the sake of understanding that, okay, I'm working on a service that, oh, they're working on the same, or are they working on this? Oh, they're working on something similar. So having these kind of questions open up is really important, and freeing up as much time for the doing and not having just meetings is also really important. So you don't just sit around going, okay, now we know what everybody's doing, and you're talking about the doing and not doing the doing. I think that's like anti-agile. There's a lot of planning involved, but planning is work. Discussing what's happening is not working, like the same kind of thing. I think that's maybe, I think Tytti's like laughing there, but I think you've all been in that situation where you're like, okay, we need to know what everybody's doing. And if it's not part of the everyday, then it can also be a hindrance if it's just like, okay, once a month we hear what everybody's doing and you spend 3 hours and you're like, you're exhausted and you don't remember half of what happened. So getting it more incremental and more on a weekly basis, let's say, or even some sort of bulletin, some sort of like system where you have somebody asking, like a bot on Slack, it just makes it so much faster. So yeah, but the downside is that lots of people think of it as scope creep. So if you know too much, you start building too much. But I don't know what you guys feel about that. For myself, it's like, it's one of the sides of discussion is like, wait, maybe people start noticing, what are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And then they start, it's not scope creep really, but what do you think, like, Tytti?
I think that like scope creeps can also sometimes benefit the product. So, and I would say that that's even sometimes agile, that if you see that some team next to you is basically building a functionality that would be benefiting your team, like why not taking it in if that really solves 3 or 4 other problems that you are experiencing. So
Definitely,
that's
that
agile.
is supposed to be intentional in that case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it needs to be discussed that that okay, that this we take in and we take a knowledgeable decision on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that that's the difference when you're really practicing agile ways of working, is that you're not scared of things changing. Of course, there should still be a plan, and sometimes you have unexpected developmental, like the challenge of developing some feature, let's say in a digital service or even in a physical service. You might notice like, oh, there are no buttons. Like we can't put the buttons. There are no physical buttons. And we had been thinking that there's, because somebody ordered a different type of kiosk touchscreen, and or the new touchscreen doesn't have the same kind of interface. And you're like, okay, so now what do we do? So these kind of things really happen all the time. And it's not because for lack of planning, it's just the domino effect of like decision making. Okay, hey, I think that let's see, I'm just going to check real quick. Like there's been some really lovely, unfortunately, I can't address all the comments in the chat. So I hope you guys are able to look through there. I also will pause I think that we have now time for maybe some ad hoc Q&A. So these were what we did just now was we kind of brought together questions that we got prior to the event, as well as some ideas that we thought would be beneficial to share. But now I'm going to pause my sharing and try to get, for some reason, I'm having trouble finding the Q&A. Let me just do this. I'm going to stop sharing. Maybe that's why. Sometimes Zoom is not always my friend. So let's try to, okay, give me 1 second. And I think if nothing else, I have been, yeah, I would need a little bit of help, but I think that what we can do now, let me see, I'm just gonna really quickly, sorry about this, guys. These things always tend to happen in the live event. Never have I not found the Q&A window. It's not working, but I have, one of my colleagues has added, yeah, B has shared the questions somewhere else, so I can't currently see the actual Q&A, but I see that we have some questions to the panelists. So have you experienced challenges in running an agile model when everyone is working remotely? How do you solve those challenges? So I'm just wondering, do you have any thoughts on that? I'll just repeat that one. Have you experienced challenges in running an agile model when everyone is working remotely? How do you solve those challenges? So have you had any challenges maybe this year or previous years? Tytti, you've also been working a lot with distributed teams. So do you have any kind of like, does something come to mind, a challenge that you had run into when working with a distributed team?
I suppose sometimes the engagement might be difficult when being remotely. So just, I think that quite often, I would say that the ceremonies that might take longer period of time, for example, let's say a review session, which would take 2 hours, or retro session that would take 2 hours, then that might be a little bit too exhausting when being remotely. So I think that really try to structure your ceremony so that you have breaks in between. Also, perhaps just to get some energizing exercises in between, that would really work. And also sometimes the communication might be tricky once you're remotely. So I would say that someone might cringe at this point, but the documentation probably comes very important during these times, that everybody then are on the same page what's going on around you.
Yeah, okay, that's great. I think that, sorry, I had a little bit of technical difficulties there, but I was listening in. Sorry about that. I had to like drop in and out. I think that was really useful, especially that the engagement can be really the big difficulty for many. I think that for myself, when I'm thinking about distributed teams, I think that sometimes the tools and the newness of the tools, some people, when we had to switch fully remote, and our team had been fully on site, that moment was where it really showed the flexibility of the team, that everybody had the mindset of like, hey, this is just another challenge, like any other challenge. And if you yourself don't get frazzled, and that you give a little bit more time to people. So really giving, it's okay for people to be slow to get into the groove of things. So I think that when you're maybe, the original question was like, if you experience challenges when you're putting that agile model, is like really like maybe taking a moment and pinpointing what are the actual challenges. Is it something that you're pushing, or is it that somebody is maybe having their own context is very difficult. They have children at home, or they are not used to distributed teams. So maybe having a little bit more discussion about that within the team, and maybe a retro about it, a review about it wouldn't be a bad idea either. Let's see now. I think we have, let's imagine you're joining a completely new team where you do not know anyone. What would be the first step as an agile leader? Okay, so Hannu, what do you feel is the first thing you do when you start in a new team? Is there something that you feel that you do?
Yeah, I try to get some knowledge about those people. So how are they like and what they have been doing for, let's say, last year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to collaborate with them. So if I have to choose between getting used to the people or getting used to the domain, I choose the people.
That's right. Okay, I feel exactly the same way. I feel that all the tools in the world will not help you if you're using some sort of a wiki for all the information, this and that. I will get to that. I will read up as much as I can, but I tend to have one-on-ones with people, especially product owner, finding out how we're going to work together. The behavior and the synchronization within the team is really important as a leader. And I think that that's like one of the main things I also do is really look into like, how can I form a bond without it being forced and too fast either. Did you have anything you'd like to share to add to that one?
I would like to add also there that I try to make myself as available as possible and as approachable as possible, so that people feel comfortable around me, so that they would come and just discuss with me as well. So.
Okay, I think that, yeah, let's see now.
There's a question with 7 thumbs up. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go to that. What is your relationship to the product owner within an agile team? Yeah, I'm gonna click that. Now I got the Q&A working finally. So yeah, what is your relationship to the product owner, the PO, within an agile team? Who does the leading, the PO or the Scrum Master sent by an attendee in advance? So I think that we've input that one in there. So can you maybe share what is your relationship to the PO?
I believe that product owner should be the leader because product owner is the representative of the business and the actual outcome in a sense that the motivation to do the whole thing comes from the business, and product owner is the representative of that. And also usually this depends, but usually the product owner is the one who has to deal with the outcome the most. So related to what I said previously about the motivation. So if possible, product owner should lead the team, but also this is about the setup of the team and the organization. So sometimes product owner is somebody who's not, designated into this, and the product owner has a lot of other business things to do except being a product owner. So in those times, it's very important that the Scrum Master or someone else takes the lead. So it's important to have somebody to lead, depending also on the how much self-organized the team is. But if possible, product owner is the leader of the team and Scrum Master is the leader of the Scrum process.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that I can't agree more, is that I've seen situations where maybe people are thinking like, oh, well, the PO doesn't understand development or doesn't know the design. How could they make the decisions? But the idea is that they're leading the team and maybe not specifically always making them, they're making sure that they are facilitating the, like, okay, I need the knowledge. How should I go? And they can lean on a Scrum Master. They can lean on the design lead or the team lead, but I think that it really is, it's really important that the PO takes that responsibility also from the business side of things, because it would be damaging to the team if there were many leads or many leaders and not a dictator, but like really leading. Hey, we still have one more, we have one more question that we could answer. Let's see, we have one that has 5 thumbs up over here. How do you solve shared resources? Meaning, for example, people who are part of 3-4 different agile teams do you still expect them to be in every meeting, knowing that it would mean, for example, several retrospectives a week? So I think that this one is it's a bit of a loaded question. Of course, like you probably can't have them in all the meetings, but did you feel like there's something, because I feel like this is something, if they're part of 3 different agile teams.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
Yes, I was just about to say. So what does that mean? Maybe as a PO, do you mean, or is that, but as an individual, if you're part of multiple projects or multiple teams, I think that those people, hopefully they are the exception
Yes.
and not the rule. And
Yes.
if they're the exception, then having discussions with them and figuring out what would be the best way for them to be knowledgeable, but not be, let's say, overloaded. Cognitive overload is really a burnout. I'm looking at this person going 3 to 4 different agile teams. There's a burnout happening. Sorry, maybe I'm just telling it.
Yeah.
Maybe you gotta be, if it's you or your friend, you gotta be worried about them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that sometimes what could be helpful in there, if you can't make that situation go away, that they are working in 3 to 4 different agile teams, because I don't think that it's very efficient, even though it might sound very efficient, but like changing context for people is very difficult.
Context switching, yep.
Yeah, so perhaps just have them sort of decide a day that they are actually working for you, or time period that they are actually working for you. So then they can focus that time working for that specific thing, for example. And do I still expect them to come in every meeting? Probably not in that situation, but I would say that they still need to be aware of things. So
actually, I'm just gonna, because we're gonna have to wrap up, but I wanted to add that Evelina added exactly that. She meant shared resources, and I didn't get the share, like I forgot that resource can be a human. I don't think of humans as resources always. I tend to be too touchy-feely, but very good point is that if there's a specialist that comes in and out of the team, then I definitely would make sure that they have that if you have able to have this kind of weekly notes or some sort of thing, that they cannot be part of every retrospective, and then really looking at when they have been part of the team and when they've been really important in the team, that they should be part of a specific retrospective, and also discuss with them then really looking at their time management. But hey, actually we have a couple of minutes left. We've had some really great questions. Thank you so much. I'm just going to go back to my presentation here real quick. I'll just share my screen. And what I really wanted to say is that thank you for all these great questions. We couldn't get to the last one, but we'll take note of it, and we'll look into it and hopefully be able to answer it in some form, maybe a blog post or even through LinkedIn. So today, let's just really quickly recap. Today we discussed roles and responsibilities, leadership styles, motivation and challenging times, as well as cross-team collaboration. Now, each one of these themes could warrant their full hour or even an hour and a half. But as we don't have that luxury, we'll love to continue the discussion on LinkedIn with you, so you can add us to your network, send us some questions, and I just put them over here, and we'll be sharing those in the thank you email afterwards with the recording, with today's recording. And I just want to really quickly say that we appreciated the questions. Thank you allowing us this opportunity this morning for engaging with you. We'll send out the recording as well as sources that we mentioned today. We'll send you the feedback survey, and we'd really appreciate to hear what you felt could be improved, what you liked, what you felt could be something that could have been added to today's event. I'm sure Women in Tech would also be very happy to hear about that. Today we looked at leading agile teams, leading teams in agile environments, and we showcased some of Frantic's talented leaders. We looked at Frantic. We just wanted to let you know that Frantic also has a wide pool of leaders, experts in design and tech, and we received praise for our ability to go beyond the project brief and bring added value to whatever team and project we work on. So if your organization needs support in terms of agile leadership or looking to create multidisciplinary teams that suit your organization's needs, then drop us a line at sales@frantic.com and we'll get back to you. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and sign up for our newsletter at frantic.com to stay in the loop for our upcoming events and content. Now, also, I just wanted to mention that Women in Tech is also on Facebook and Twitter, and keep an eye out on them because they'll be hosting more breakfast dates today. As always, Women in Tech events are free and open to anyone interested. I'd really love to thank Tytti and Hannu today for your lovely attention to detail, answering questions, and sharing your experiences. From my part, thank you. We are now at 9:31, so I'd love to end the session promptly. And thanks for joining us today and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.